U.S. President Donald Trump's pledge to acquire Greenland has taken another twist. The White House says all options, including military action, are on the table. The administration also says Trump is actively discussing buying the autonomous Arctic territory from Denmark.
Greenland is the world's biggest island, but its population is tiny. Just 57,000 people live in this autonomous Danish territory. It's rich in natural resources and minerals, and its geographical location has always made it strategically important and desirable, as it finds itself situated between the United States, Canada, the European Union, and of course Russia.
We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic.
That's what US President Donald Trump said yet again on Sunday. The question is, how could he take over Greenland? Last year saw Donald Trump's oldest son visit Greenland, followed later by Vice President J.D. Vance. There were reports that the CIA and National Security Agency had stepped up surveillance of Greenland's independence movement. Ahead of the territory's elections last March, Trump made no secret of his support for Greenland's independence from Denmark.
We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America.
Polling shows a majority of Greenlanders want independence from Denmark. But that doesn't mean they want to be ruled by the United States. During his first presidential term, Trump talked of buying the Arctic territory.
Well, a lot of things could be done. I mean, essentially, it's a large real estate deal.
There's been more talk of that by the current Trump administration. In December, Trump also appointed Jeff Landry as special envoy to Greenland, much to the concern of Denmark. Landry has already said he wants to make Greenland part of the United States. Other options under discussion are forming a free association with Greenland. This would give the United States exclusive military access in exchange for US economic assistance and defense. But the US military is already there. Greenland is on the shortest route between the European part of Russia and the United States. That's why the US built one of its most important radar stations here, where there are currently around 200 military personnel. Greenland itself has no army of its own, and Denmark's patrol of the vast island is only limited. This week, the White House said using the US military is always an option with regard to annexing Greenland. By air or sea, experts warn this could be done relatively easily and quickly.
Let's get more on this with Jakob Illeborg, a journalist in Copenhagen. Jakob, Denmark and Greenland have made it clear that they don't accept any U.S. claims over Greenland, and Danish officials are now set to meet with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio next week. What can we expect from that meeting? What will the Danes offer Marco Rubio?
I think it's a concerted effort to sort of descale things. It's been pretty hectic here in Denmark over the last few days, actually, ever since Donald Trump came to power. And I think this is the chance for Foreign Minister Løkke Rasmussen to try and talk business, to speak to the American officials and say what has always been the line here, and indeed in Greenland, that Greenland is not for sale, but open for business. Whether America will listen to the Danes who will say that basically you can have whatever you want in Greenland, but you cannot take over the island, is another matter.
Is there any understanding in Copenhagen as to where this demand to actually incorporate Greenland into the United States is coming from? And I ask this because there is both countries, Denmark and the United States, are members of NATO. They cooperate militarily. There is a US military base on the island. There is also a military agreement between Denmark and the United States. So you would imagine that militarily, all national security objectives of the United States can be met. So why this repeated demand to incorporate Greenland into US territory?
Well, I think this is the heart of the matter, really. I think there's a feeling of trepidation, even perplexity here in Denmark as to why. Basically, the Danes have been saying all along, you can have it all. If you want to build more bases, go ahead. If you want to invest in Greenland, please go ahead and do so. But the thing is that I think that the feeling here is that Donald Trump wants Greenland for one reason or the other, and that maybe reasoning is not so easy. Now, the Danes will do all they can to reason. Remember, Denmark is a very, very loyal ally of America. And the hope is that you can talk reason and sense with the American administration. We'll see if that happens.
While that is the hope, are Danish authorities making any preparations for any eventual American action? I don't know, potential military intervention or anything else that the Americans spring on the Danes?
Well, very importantly, Mette Frederiksen, the prime minister, went to Paris the other day to speak to the big European nations who pledged their support for Denmark. I think the feeling is that united Europe stands stronger, and Denmark, as a relatively small country, very much needs the support of the rest of Europe. But apart from that, I mean, when I've been speaking to people on the street here in Copenhagen about this, a lot of them are sort of just saying, well, all we can do is wait and see and hope. But clearly, the Danish administration is trying its best to get support and has successfully done so from the rest of Europe. Whether this is enough to deter the American plans is another matter.
Jakob, what more can you tell us about reports that the US is potentially stepping up covert support of Greenland's very strong independence movement?
I think there's a clear feeling that this is happening. The appointment, as your report also mentioned, of Louisiana Governor Landry to be envoy to Greenland speaks a clear language. There are ways that America can go about this, really. You can directly or indirectly invest in Greenland. You can try and woo the Greenlanders by maybe throwing them an offer they can't refuse. There's only 57,000 people in Greenland. If you promise them gold that glitters and lots of money and whatever, it may sway their minds in the long run. But actually, if you will, buying Greenland is not so straightforward. Denmark can't sell Greenland. Greenland would have to seek independence from Denmark and then eventually along the line negotiate such a deal with America. So that's not really straightforward.
We'll leave it there for the moment, but thanks for those updates. Jakob Illeberg, journalist in Copenhagen. Thanks so much.